I'm on top of the world, I'm on top of the world, We've done this for a while now, paying my dues to the dirt. I've been waiting to smile, the whole thing for a while, Take you with me if I can, been dreaming of this job, I'm on top of the world.
Hello Year 4, and in literacy for the next couple of weeks we're going to be doing something totally different. We're going to be looking at this book, Great Adventurers by Alistair Humphreys, and we are going to be writing some biographies of some famous adventurers, people who have gone on amazing journeys and expeditions around the world. One of the reasons I chose this is because, as well as lots of biographies, this book also contains fantastic maps of their journeys. So today you will need your pencil and paper and the Great Adventurers reading template from Seesaw. Okay, so let's start by looking at our new spellings. Our new spellings this week are homophones, and I wonder if you can tell me what kind of words homophones are. That's right, homophones are words that have the same pronunciation, i.e. they sound the same, but they have different spellings and different meanings. So when we learn these spellings, not only do we need to learn the spellings this week, but we also need to know the meaning of the word so that we choose the correct word to go in the sentence. Okay, so let's have a look at the words. We've got seen and seen, whose and whose, affect and effect, here and here, heel and heel. So what's the difference? So really, we need to be able to decide which word to use in a sentence so we know that we understand what it means. So let's have a look at this first sentence. It was so noisy, the boy struggled to hear what his mum said. But which is the correct spelling of hear? We've got two different spellings. That's right, it's H-E-A-R. It's the second one there. Now I'm going to suggest this this week, that you might like to use some of these cards to help you with your spellings this week. So on one side of this card I've written the spelling here, spelled H-E-R-E, and that really means a place. It means a place where I am here, hey, I'm here. Whereas when we spell H-E-A-R, there we go, that means a sound that we can hear with our ear. Okay, so you can see the word ear as part of that word here. Can you hear that sound? So we need to know the difference. Maybe you could make yourself some little cards and you could write the spelling as well as perhaps draw a picture to show what the word means and perhaps use it in a sentence. And that would really help you to understand the different meanings of our homophones this week. So the next ones are seen and seen. Two different spellings, but which one is correct in this sentence? The teacher had lost the whiteboard rubber. She asked if anyone had seen it. So which spelling is it? That's right, it's the first one, S-E-E-N. And if we look at these spellings here, seen, spelt like that, is something that you see with your eyes. Have you seen my car keys? So I've done that on my card. But on the other side, the other spelling of seen, it's a certain kind of a place. The emergency teams were on the scene, first at the scene, and a snowy winter scene. So that's a different spelling and a different meaning of scene, spelled S-C-E-N-E. Brilliant. Let's have a look what's next. This time we've got whose and whose. Now, I'm imagining this one might be a bit tricky, so I'll start with the sentence, whose are these trainers? And I wonder if you know which spelling it is, the first or the second spelling. Okay, I'm going to come back to that one actually. Let's have a look at the two different meanings, and I'm starting with W-H-O apostrophe S. As we know, when we use an apostrophe, that means that one of the reasons for using apostrophe is that we have a missing letter. It's a contraction. So whose, spelt with an apostrophe like that, is short for who is. So if you could say who is instead of whose, then it means, that's what it means, who is. Who is there? Who's there? So Can that work in our sentence? Who are these trainers? No. So it's not that one, it's the other one, whose. And this is a possessive pronoun. It means something belonging to someone. Whose coat is this? Okay, so that's the spelling that we should use in this sentence. Whose are these trainers? So hopefully that makes sense. Remember, if it's got the apostrophe S, it's short for who is. Brilliant. Okay, you get my amazing drawings in this one. Okay, so we've got two spellings, heel and heel. H-E-E-L and H-E-A-L. So which one do you think goes in this sentence? At last her broken arm had begun to heal. Do you know? It's the second one, H-E-A-L. Because if heel is spelled like that, look at that, I had to write what it is. It's a plaster. It's a plaster on there. If it's spelled H-E-A-L, it means it's getting better, isn't it? It's recovering. It took 1 week for his cut to heal, and in this sentence, at last her broken arm had begun to heal. Whereas the other spelling, and this is an even better drawing, is the heel of your foot. So you see what I mean? These cards are really handy this week to help us to learn our homophones. Now, I'm not going to lie, but these last two, a lot of grown-ups, most grown-ups, including me, a lot of the time, would get confused between these two, effect and affect. So I did have to look it up, and this is what I found. So effect is a change which is the result of an action. So I think we could definitely use effect in this sentence. The effect of plastic on the environment is devastating. And I've got another sentence that I've written there. What is it? Oh, special effects in a film as well, spelled with an E. Whereas affect, spelled with an A, is also similar to make a difference. So he was affected by the tragedy. And also it can be if you pretend to have or to feel something, you affect something. So if you put on a different accent, like American accent, you could say he affected an American accent. So those two are pretty tricky, I have to say. So we won't read too much about it, but notice that there's two ways of spelling it. Okay, so we'll get started on our work on biographies. And I'm not sure if you'll have written a biography before, but it's really interesting. If you find somebody that really inspires you or you're really interested in, then it's fantastic fun to write a biography about them. And so next week I'm going to ask you to choose who you write your biography about. I'll give you some ideas with a few options, but you might want to choose to write your biography about somebody different. And a biography is a text that describes somebody's life, and that's exactly what this author, Alistair Humphrey, did. He chose lots of people who inspired him, and he's written in this book, he's written their biographies. There was another map. But yeah, he's written their biographies in this book, and we're going to have a look at one of them today. So I'll just see if I can show you a quick trailer that I found on YouTube about this book that was used to publicise this book when it came out only a couple of years ago. So have a look and see what you think. It's going to be great. Great Adventurers by Alistair Humphreys meet the world's greatest explorers. Brilliant! So I thought you'd like to know a little bit more about Alistair Humphreys, who's written this book. And on the back it tells me that Alistair Humphreys was named a National Geographic Adventurer of the Year. He has cycled the world, rowed the Atlantic Ocean, and is also a speaker and author. And he has chosen in this book his own adventurers that have inspired him. So it says on the blurb, handpicked by adventurer Alistair Humphreys, this compilation retells the extraordinary journeys undertaken by his personal heroes. These men and women have ventured into space, oceans, deserts and jungles and inspired Alistair's own adventurers. They may do the same for you too. And in a moment, we're going to find out about the girl or the lady that we are going to be learning about today, who is called Sarah Ooten. And Alistair Humphreys is actually going to talk to us a little bit about why he chose to write about Sarah Ooten.
Is one of the toughest, humblest, sweetest people that I know. She took on the planet by bike and boat. A genuinely epic journey. That's an overused word, but the way she tackled the journey and all the problems she had along the way with such fortitude was really inspiring. And I also really like that Sarah genuinely cares about trying to encourage young people and children to living more adventurously. She doesn't just pay lip service to it. It was, as Sir Ranulph Fiennes says on the front, a seriously tough expedition. Sarah's written a couple of books, A Dip in the Ocean. Her latest one about taking on the whole planet by bike and boat is Dare to Do. She's a good woman.
There you go. So we've met Alistair Humphreys, or we've seen him at least, and now we're going to find out about the adventurer that really inspired him called Sarah Ooten. Now, the expedition we're going to be finding out about happened only 5 years ago in 2015, and Sarah Ooten was a very young woman at that time. So we're going to read through the biography that Alistair Humphreys has written about her, and then we're going to answer some questions. And along the way, we should be able to find out the kind of key ingredients or features that go into making a biography. So Sarah Ooten. Sarah Ooten spent 4 years rowing, cycling and kayaking around the world. She was hit by a tropical storm on the Pacific Ocean and a hurricane whilst crossing the Atlantic. The journey definitely did not go to plan. But Sarah says that it was all the better for that in the long run. I wonder why she said that. I wonder why she said it was better that she had all these problems and difficulties. Have a little think about that, because that could be something to do with why she's a really great adventurer. Okay, let's read on. Can you imagine taking a 4.5-year journey around the world via land and sea? Well, that's exactly what Sarah Ooten did. After months of training, Sarah began her adventure by paddling out of London, UK, and across the English Channel, arriving in France 9 hours later. She then jumped on her bicycle Hercules and rode east, covering more than 16,000 kilometres across Europe, Central Asia and China. The journey was both gruelling and exhilarating, and Sarah learnt a lot on the way about herself and the kindness of people she met. Amazing journey. Now, wondering that if there are any words that you were not sure of, I'm thinking there's a word in there that's a really great word that we probably need to remember for our own biographies, and that is grueling. The journey was both grueling and exhilarating, or both of those words really, that I'm just going to highlight now. Grueling and exhilarating. But what do you think grueling means? It really means really tough. It was a hard challenge. Really tough challenge. And exhilarating is something that is really sort of exciting, and it really gives you a buzz. So that's exhilarating. It really means exciting. So we need to also, while we're reading, don't we make sure that we understand the words that we're reading. Let's carry on. Hurricanes and storms. The biggest challenge Sarah faced was rowing across the oceans solo. Although she rowed her first ocean when she was just 24. She capsized 20 times, that means she got tipped out of her boat, was rescued after a tropical storm on the Pacific Ocean damaged her boat, and she was also picked up on the Atlantic Ocean before a hurricane struck. For most people, these experiences would be enough to make them never return to sea again. But Sarah found the motivation to continue her journey. It is a good reminder that adventurers must have perseverance, be positive, and always be willing to try again. It is also a reminder of how fierce the natural world can be and shows the risk that people are willing to take in pursuit of their adventurous dreams. So in pursuit of their adventurous dreams, in pursuit of means if you're in pursuit of something, you're chasing it, you're trying to find it. So let's have a look. In pursuit of, that means that you're chasing your dreams, you're trying to follow it. And this has got some really great reminders of what it is to be an adventurer, what you need. What qualities do you think that you need to be an adventurer that you get from this paragraph? That's right, perseverance. You need to be positive, always willing to try again, never giving up. Okay, it sounds just like our learner traits at school, doesn't it? Well done, everybody. And the natural world, the fierce natural world, that's talking about all the storms and the rough seas that she encountered. Let's read on. Sharing the adventure. Amidst the drama, that means when she was in the middle of all of this dramatic stuff that was happening, amidst, in the middle of, Sarah's adventure was filled with plenty of wonderful moments too. Whilst in China, Sarah met a young man called Gao, who was fascinated by her adventure. He had never known it was possible to cycle across a whole country. Gao decided to cycle to Beijing with Sarah and bought a bike the very next day. Together, they cycled 4,800 kilometers across China. His spirit of adventure, where am I up to, was exactly what Sarah had hoped to inspire in people through her journey, and it might do the same for you. Did you see where I jumped to just then? There we go. Fantastic. So let's read the next part. End of the world. Touching land back at the UK at long last, Sarah was joined by friends and family as she cycled the final stretch. Her adventure finished by paddling under Tower Bridge in London, completing her 40,000 kilometre journey. Despite all the challenges, Sarah had made it around the world. And then we've got this part at the end, everybody, here in speech marks. What do you think that is? That's right, it's a quote. It's something that Sarah actually said. She said, "What's stopping you? It's you, isn't it?" And sometimes that's right, isn't it? Sometimes we want to do something and we think, shall I? And then we say to ourselves, no, I won't bother. But she's challenging us there to strive and reach for our dreams, isn't she? Whatever they might be, and to be an adventurer. Fantastic. Now you've also got on your PDF the next page in the book, which is a lovely double page which shows kind of the journey that she took, and we'll look at that a little bit later, but you'll be able to have a look at that when you want. It shows the route that she took, and we'll look back at that quite soon. Okay, so we're going to try and answer some of the questions then that we've been set. And you can write those onto the PDF, onto the template that you've got, or you can write it onto a piece of paper, just your answers, jot them down, that's fine. So our first question, number 1, is about the first paragraph on page 57, which starts, "Can you imagine?" And it says, complete the question used to hook the reader. Now this is a really great trick when you're writing a biography, is to hook in your reader with a question. Let's have a look at the question, because that's the question you've got to write down. Can you imagine taking a 4.5-year journey around the world via land and sea? That's the question that you need to write down for question 1. 4.5 years, that's really, really long time, isn't it? So imagine, gosh, you guys, that's more than half your life, or about half of your life so far. That's how long it took her to go on this adventure. That's a long time. Then number 2, when you're ready, you can move on to number 2. Order these events from Sarah's journey around the world. So you need to write the letters of these events, but write them in the right order. So A is Sarah rode east more than 16,000 kilometres across Europe, Central Asia and China on a bicycle called Hercules. B, Sarah crossed the English Channel and arrived in France. C, Sarah completed months of training in preparation for the expedition. And D, Sarah paddled her kayak out of London. So you need to write those 4 letters in the right order. Now read back through, just pause the video and read back through the paragraph and figure out which letter you think comes first. Okay, so it's after months of training. So C, Sarah completed months of training in preparation for expedition, and it says it just there, doesn't it, on your text, after months of training. So that's what tells us there. So after C, what comes next? That's right, she began her adventure by paddling out of the UK. So that is D. I'm not writing it very neatly, hopefully you keeping up or managing to keep up okay. What happened next? Oh, she crossed the English Channel, so that is B. 9 hours it took to row across the English Channel. And then finally A, that's when she got on her bicycle called Hercules and rode all those ways across continents as far as China. That wasn't the end of her journey though, that was just the beginning. So, and finally, and we talked about this earlier, what word in this paragraph tells you that Sarah found this question, found this adventure, this journey difficult? Can you remember? See if you can remember which word out of that paragraph meant tough or difficult, and write it down. Fantastic. Okay, so our next questions are about the next paragraph, hurricanes and storms. Read the second paragraph. What was Sarah's biggest challenge? It's going to be easy for you to find. Okay. And then question 5, what do we learn in this paragraph about the qualities it takes to be an adventurer? And again, we mentioned that earlier, so see if you can use the text and find the different things that we mentioned before about being an adventurer. Okay, so that might help you a little bit. Brilliant. Okay, let's read question number 6. In this paragraph, sharing the adventure, we find out one of the reasons Sarah went on her journey. What is it? Can you think of any other reasons she might have gone on this journey? So there's 2 things there. What is the reason why she went on the journey? And can you think of any other reasons? So you'll need to read back through the question, the paragraph sharing the adventure. It's about when she met the young man called Gao who went with her. Now towards the end of the paragraph, you can see a sentence that starts, his spirit of adventure. There we go. So we've just skimmed through to where it says his spirit of adventure. And let's read that. His spirit of adventure was exactly what Sarah had hoped to inspire in people through her journey. And it might do the same for you. So, one of the reasons why she went on the adventure was to inspire other people to go on adventures too. Can you think of any other reasons why she might have gone on this journey? Have a little think. Maybe it was a challenge to herself to see what she could achieve. Perhaps she was trying to raise money for a charity. I don't know. I'd love to see what you think, what your ideas are as well. Okay, our final paragraph, end of the world. How far was Sarah's journey in total? So just scan through that paragraph and find that answer. Just check it makes sense. And then number 8, we talked about this, didn't we? Number 8 is about a quote, something that Sarah said that Alistair has included in his biography. What's stopping you? It's you, isn't it? Why do you think the writer included this quote from Sarah in the biography? Have a think and then you write down your answer. Well done. Super. So thinking about the whole text then, number 9, what message or advice do you think Sarah Ooten would give to anyone thinking of going on an adventure? So just glance back through and skim back through the whole of that text that we've read together today and think about what advice or message would she say. It's far too scary, stay at home, would she? Okay, so you could write your answer to question number 9. And when you've done that, everybody, we have finished. I wanted to show you the checklist that we'll be using throughout our work on a biography over the next 2 weeks, because I think we'll be able to recognise the features having just read this one example of a biography. One thing that we often find is a rhetorical question to hook the reader. And remember that one was, can you imagine spending 4.5 years on a journey, I can't remember it word for word, around the world? Brilliant. The first paragraph summarises the main points in their life. Then we've got third person pronouns. We're talking about her in this case, so we will use her and she. But if it was a man or a boy, it would be he and his. And if it was more than one person, it would be they or their. Key events from their life, including dates. We've certainly had that. And some quotes. We talked about the quote. We're also going to be practicing later on this week using conjunctions, such as although, despite, whilst, however, nevertheless, to show the challenges that people face. And the final paragraph mentions their main achievements. This is like a conclusion at the end of a paragraph. The main achievements, their personality, and how they will be remembered. And I think in this case, it's how they inspired us, how they inspired other people. So a great start to our work on Great Adventurers and Writing Biographies Year 4. Hope you really enjoyed it. You've got that text to have a good look at, and tomorrow we'll come back to it and continue with our learning about writing biographies. So well done.